Here to support Joan, to support this church, and most of all, to connect with our friends. Shall we give Joan a warm unity welcome?
Yes.
We've stopped. It's quiet. Why have we stopped? Oh, Mim saw the train. We have to wait till the train passes, says my driver. My husband Fred is sitting in the front seat. I'm in the back seat, very comfortable in the Contessa, which is a muscle car in India. We wait. How long do we wait? Till the train goes by. Sitting in the back seat. What am I doing here? I got to India 3 days ago, about 3 in the morning. The terminal going into Colombo's, white marble windows looking out on the Tamarack. But the aisles, that walkway, was lined with marigold petals. Go through customs, takes a while, 150 people on the plane. We go into the baggage area. It is a huge cavernous hall. And on the far side of that hall, about 3 stories high, but on the far side, I see Fred, wave at Fred, Fred waves at me. Go to the baggage terminal where they say our baggage is, and it doesn't come. And it doesn't come. Finally, someone comes over and says, "We're very sorry, we sent all this baggage to the wrong terminal, we will have to wait." The ladies on the plane all sit down on the baggage conveyor belt, and we sit for an hour and share stories about where we came from and why we're in India, what we're going to do. Have a lovely time, meet some lovely people. And suddenly, the baggage conveyor belt starts to move, and this whole row of ladies go. And we just laughed. It was, no one was hurt, not even our dignity. We just had a good time. But then we get our bags, and we have to go through yet another customs where they look at your bags, and that takes another, almost an hour, I think. Finally, we get to go through the door to the lobby where my husband is waiting. And he's pacing, and he's obviously agitated. And he said, "I was just about to go up to that guard and break in and rescue you from that place you've been for 3 hours." I said, "He's got a machine gun, Fred." He said, "Oh, I had that all figured out. I was going to put my pencil down the barrel before I took it." Thank God, thank you God, I got on time. We then get in a taxi, load my stuff into the taxi, and we go to the Imperial Hotel. This is an old colonial hotel in an Art Deco style, white marble. You go in there, and again, marigolds, and designs on the floor in marigold petals. This is a beautiful place. I've heard strange things about India, but this is just very lovely. I'm tired, but Fred said we better eat. So we go have breakfast. The menu is in English, beautiful menu, and the waiter comes up and says something to me, of which I understood not one word. And I turned to Fred and I said, "I thought you said they spoke English here." He said, "He is speaking English." Fred ordered. I went up to our room and I took a nap and was awoken to bombs. And I'm sure we're dead. This is a war, we're in India. But it turns out it was fireworks. And it turns out the decorations were all because I landed on Diwali, which is the major festival in India, and it's a festival of lights. And they love to decorate with the marigolds everywhere. After I recovered from what I'm sure was imminent death, we went for a walk. We were in a very grand part of town, in Connaught Square, or Connaught Circle area. And the vendors the shop owners were out on the street and very, very aggressive that we should come and buy from them. And I was getting very, very uncomfortable. We went around a corner and there was a snake charmer with 3 bowls with snakes. And Fred took some pictures. Well, the entourage with the snake charmer said, "You owe us money for taking the picture." And Fred was a little truculent, but he saw that I was totally and completely freaking out. So he paid the guy, and we went back to the hotel. Dusk came, I got to sleep. Woke up the next morning, I'm still in India. We were supposed to fly to Dehradun, where the school was that I'll talk more about. And we get a phone call, and it's the concierge at the hotel who said, "Your flight has been canceled." Why? The Jolly Giant, no, not the Jolly Giant, it was the Jolly Grand airline went out of business this morning. So Fred says, "Okay, we'll get a train." And because the airline went out of business, many people were going for the trains. We could not get any passengers. Okay, we will hire a car to drive us. That took a whole nother day. So I woke up the 4th day. I'm still in India. We get in the car. We drive. In America, I've noticed that people honk their horns if there's like imminent danger, if you're about to, if you pull out in front of somebody, they'll honk their horn. Our driver was of the impression that the horn should be honked constantly. In a, "Get out of the way, get out of the way, we're coming through, we're more important than you, get out of the way, get out of the way." So here I sit in the back seat, waiting for a train to go by. Mimsab, buy some bananas from these vendors. Well, there's a huge collection of vendors. We're in an expensive car in a little village. I think we're captive consumers. He said, "Buy bananas and buy some tea." Okay, Fred gives him the money. I roll down the window, they hand bananas, but big bunches of bananas to me, and tea in these little tiny, the cup sat in the palm of my hand, and it was unfired clay. Now, I know better than to drink any liquid in India from an open cup, or an open glass, just a glass with water in it. You just don't drink it. Not when I was there, maybe not ever. But I was so fascinated. Would this tea taste like mud? And I'm sure I'm going to die on this road anyhow. So I drank the tea, and it tasted good. It did not taste like mud. And the beauty of this cup was you threw it out the window, and it turns back into dirt, and it's totally recyclable. Here we sit in the quiet. Finally, a train goes by. 45 minutes into this route, the train goes by. It takes less than 2 minutes. And then beep, beep, beep. Someplace in school in my life, I read Rudyard Kipling's Kim. And while I was sitting in that train, I thought about something I read in there. So I'm going to read you this little bit. It's at the end of chapter 3, and it was written in 1901. So now we come to the big road. The great road is the backbone of all Hindi. For the most part, it's shaded. The middle, all hard, takes the quick traffic. Left and right is rougher road for the heavy carts, hauling grain and cotton and timber, fodder, lime and hides. All castes and kinds of people move here. Look, Brahmas and untouchables, bankers and tinkers, barbers and merchants, pilgrims and potters, all the world coming and going. It is to me as a river, and truly, the Grand Trunk Road is a wonderful spectacle. It runs straight, bearing without crowding India's traffic for 1,500 miles or more. Such a river of life is as nowhere else exists in the world. They looked at the green-arched, shade-speckled length of it, the white breadth speckled with slow-pacing folk. The great road in India, the major roads, are exactly the same. The faster traffic goes in the middle. There are not two lanes. And it's sort of a game of chicken. Who's going to swerve? Here's a picture of my husband, Fred. This is the Imperial Hotel where we stayed. Everyone was in some sort of uniform. India loves uniforms. This is the lobby. This is some of the marigold decorations. These are individual petals. So someone had to, this is on the floor with a candle, first of all. And here's another. Just, well, they just spend a lot of time doing these decorations. I guess we spend a lot of time at Christmas, so, or other holidays. This was our room.
Oh, lovely.
I'm told that they're not poisonous, but I was sure we were dead. Here's our Contessa. Oh, we rented it for the day. This, I just pulled this off Google. These are, I wanted to see which railroad track we crossed. We started at, well, now I can't find Delhi on here, but there's a million different, here, we were going to Dehradun, and there's no way I know which railroad track we stopped at for 45 minutes. The Great Road. This is from Google. This is the map from Delhi to Dehradun, where my school was that I taught. You'll find more out. So just some pictures of the road. You don't go any faster than that beast. Can you guys see? Yes, that was an elephant. Yes, it was an elephant. All the vehicles were so overloaded. These were taken from the car. You can see the hood of the white car we were in.
What year was this?
This was 94. This is the edge of this cart. The cart is about here, and then the... And notice, this car is coming straight at us, this truck. And they beep. And the little bicycles are, the little bicycle horn, and the big trucks are, so you know what size is coming to kill you. Here's a hotel on the road. The Dune Hotel. There's people, I'm sorry it's so dark, I tried to get them lighter, but there's all kinds of people underneath that shelter. And then I thought, at that point, I thought this was the hotel, this was the sign for it, but the driver convinced me, no, this is an ad for a hotel further on. Vendors on the side of the road. Notice the lady's head piece. Any given place on the road could be piles like this. Oh, here's another one. Here's the truck. Here's the top of the truck. This cracked me up. Just, here's this guy sitting on the side of the road. He's reading his paper. Makes no sense to me, but the Coca-Cola sign everywhere. Here's this is the car beeping coming through. This is a bicycle. I don't know if you can see this. This is an incredible load on it's a bicycle rickshaw. Some more just people on the roads. People, a group of people under an awning. I don't know if they were waiting to get on that bus, who knows? And then a group of goats on the side of the road. Some cows. Bicycles, auto rickshaws, motor rickshaw, or bicycle, motor, cars, they're all going the wrong direction if you ask me. This is a view of the Dune Valley as we were getting closer to Dune. We stopped again. The car just stops in the middle of the road. The driver says, named Saab, take the bunches of bananas and put them on the side of the road. There's a congress of monkeys blocking the road. So I got out, I take the bunches of bananas, I put them on the hillside on the side of the road. The monkeys go over to get the bananas and we drive on into their So this is a long shot of Dune. Here's our hotel, the President Hotel. It's a little storefront, one storefront wide, but 4 stories tall. Here's our room in Dune. We came down, but this was considered a middle-class hotel. This is a hotel that we went to every Wednesday afternoon till Friday morning. That was our weekend. And there was hot water and television with English channels, with English channels, and really good food. Outside, some more marigolds. I should go back to the marigolds. So we're in Dune. It was more than a 5-hour trip. I went to bed. I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning. I was still in India. A taxi had been arranged, a taxi driver, that Fred had been in India for 3 months before I came, and he had arranged for us to go up to the college. So this is from Dune up to Missouri. This is Missouri Road, at Rajpur Road, and turns into Missouri Road, and the college is right about here. And I just put both the map view and the satellite view because this is all mountains. So these little curvy stuff is because we're way up in the Himalayas.
What's the temperature?
You know, up there, we thought it would be India and warm, and it was probably in the 70s or less a lot of times. And we truly spent some time under the light bulb in our bedroom trying to get warm. We didn't bring warm clothes. We were able to get some warm clothes, but what did I know?
Is that a river or a road?
No, that's the road.
It's so windy.
Well, it's because it's mountains. Sakya College. I was teaching English. I am not a trained ESL instructor, but they wanted, my husband was studying Buddhism there, and they wanted someone with an English accent who knew grammar a little bit, and I fit the bill. That's what I was doing there. The college is nestled in the Himalayas. The circle surrounds our very almost visible house. There's our house, corner of the college. That's where we live. Now, I was on that mountainside with 105 monks, my husband and me, all going around. These are almost 15 inches. They were outside my door when I got there. This was a huge tree with the poinsettias. That's my driveway coming up to that's a steep hill, and bougainvillea. I never was in that structure. It was made, it was just on the property, along with a whole lot of monkeys with us. And I fed them all the time. Oh, there they are. So this is the entrance to the college. At the back of the college was the temple Vedanta entrance. The classrooms were on the left. My classroom, I've got a Oh, this is a close-up of some of the carvings, just incredible carvings. I looked for a clip of the sound of these long horns. I was not able to find one. Our living room looked out on this balcony. Me on the balcony looking at the roof, and I got to watch the guys practicing things. This gentleman here, under the umbrella, is the head, at the time, he is now retired, but the head of the Sakya School of Buddhism worldwide. And the red carpet was put for him to walk on.
He's a disciple.
Holidays, the guys, they're playing musical chairs.
Did they have music or were they singing?
I don't remember. They probably had music. How could you have musical chairs without music? So, can you see this clay pot?
Oh, I see.
This is like pinata. Wow, I went too fast. When he broke it, no candy, cold water. India. It was a war, in the summer it can get sometimes around 105 Fahrenheit. Can get pretty warm. This is inside the temple. The silk banners, all silk brocade banners, beautiful. And a very large drum. And a classroom. When I was trained, I had been teaching in an elementary school before I went to India, and the training was, you really need to know people's names. It really helps to connect with your students to have their names. And how you learn their names. You've noticed what clothes they're wearing and their hairstyle. And I walked into that classroom. I'm going to go back to it. They all have saffron and burgundy and shaved, or very short hair. I made a seating chart and I tried to say their names. Tibetan books are very different from English books. If I can get this open.
When you're on the screen, that's in the way, right? The lectern. Yeah.
They're not bound. They're individual pages. So there's stacks, and this is, nice, beautiful Tibetan writing. They're probably upside down, and now they're out of order, but I can't read them anyhow, so. But I was trying to learn the guys' names. And let's see if this trick works. Not so far. I had a very hard time saying that. I'm not even going to try now, years later, because, and I think there's only 13 names, but they mix them up in different orders. And the T is sometimes silent, sometimes not. But I really wanted to learn their names and connect with these guys. So I practiced, and I recorded them. And they'd never been recorded. They'd never heard their voices on a tape recorder. One of the things, though, I felt quite disrespected because they would stick out their tongues at me. If they met me in the hall, stick out their tongue. I'm failing. I can't do this. Walking across that big square where you're, the quadrant, or whatever that is called, the middle of this building outside. I'm walking with Kempo Migmar, the dean, and 3 monks come up, and they say, Tashi Delake, which is a greeting, and they stick their tongues out at me, and I am mortified. I just want to die. I want to melt into the ground, please. The dean has seen that these guys do not like me. And he sees my mortification, and he starts laughing. And then he's holding his belly. And then he's down on the ground on his knees, which I am not going to do. And he says, Joan, that's a sign of affection. If they like like you, that's how they're greeting you. Tashi Delay. Who knew? I worried for a couple of weeks about that. So back to the guys. The incense burner he's showing me. The front yard, sometimes the guys, sometimes the college cows. Here's a view, you can see the cows, here's a view looking out on the Dune Valley. Some evenings, there would be thunderstorms and lightning, and we were above it. And that was a most fascinating thing to watch that kind of weather from above. But then it would rain on us, and I was always sure that we were going to slide down the mountain in some way. This is the one graduating class. Well, I think I have some automatic stuff going on here. That's Kempo Vigmar, the dean, and then up below him is Sakya Trenzen, who was the head of the Sakya College, and now Vatna Bajra is now Sakya Trenzen. He has taken over. Typically in the Tibetan Sakya lineage, it's a householder, someone who gets married, and their son takes over when they die. But because of the influence of the Chinese, Sakya Trenzen wanted to be elder, wanted to make sure that transition of power happened when he was still alive and could intervene. There's quite a bit of wealth connected with owning or being responsible for monasteries all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many there are. There's over 100. I don't know the exact count. This is me, I think, yes. Fred and Kempo Myanmar and myself. Kempo is just,
Can we see that again?
you want to go back to that?
Yes.
I'm in a Hindi kind of outfit. He would take me, he just was so kind to me, and he would take me into town to help me buy groceries. One day he came, he said, we didn't have a class, he said, hey, you want to go with me? I said, sure. We're in the car, we're almost to town. I said, where are we going? He said, Delhi. Oh, I haven't brought anything, I didn't tell Fred. He said, I'm just teasing you. He came to visit us in Thailand. That was just an incredible man. He's since passed. The entrance to the building. The white chalk is, those are auspicious things when companies come and they paint with chalk. But this is, if you notice, it's very rough. Now this is the new, this is I went online and got a picture of it. It's all very landscaped and all very lovely. This is my neighborhood. So here's Sakya College, and this is the inner courtyard I was talking about. Our house was up here on this curve. There was a temple, Sri Mandir Temple, which was a Hindi temple that lasted chants, beautiful, wonderful Hindi chants, all day. And down here in this corner is, press the right button, the Himalayan Torchbearer Campus. And this is 3 cone-shaped buildings made out of cement. I thought Randy would like this. They're 2 stories high. And from my porch, I watched them, the year I was there, I watched those cement structures being built. And I never saw them with anything in them. This is the inside of the Sri Madhi Temple. This is one of the rooms in there. You might notice a similarity. Marigolds everywhere all the time. This is the Torchbearer Campus with the coned buildings. And I knew the architect and got to visit the site, got to be up there. That's the other side of it. And those windows just look out on that valley. I want to go back to the map. I'm off script now, folks. Our house, Sakya College, the Sri Madri temple and the Himalaya and the building of the cones, each had a phone. But I think there were only 3 phone lines, and there were 4 of us. So at any given time, one of these people would be out of phone service. And the secretary at the college, our phone didn't work. It would work about a week and then it wouldn't work. Went down to the phone company for us, which was down towards Dehradun. And they said they'd come tomorrow morning, and they never showed up. And we went down to the phone company and they said, we called and no one answered. We didn't think it was. I don't make this stuff up. This is not, I could make this up if I wanted. We also had an upstairs toilet that never worked, and we called the plumber many times. And in a year, that plumber never showed up. And what they call the plumbers is the mystery. And I know why, because they never show up. So, I went to bed, fell asleep. I woke up, I'm still in India. But I'm at the President Hotel. The President Hotel, it was right at where this street tees. And you go this way and it eventually leads to Rishikesh, which was only an hour away, and I never got to go there. And as far as I can tell, Nashville Road didn't go anywhere. And Nashville had to be some expensive something somewhere, but a lot of traffic. And then the clock tower in Delhi. Notice that this traffic is heading the wrong direction. Just ask any American. And the English bookstore, where I wanted desperately to get a copy of Kim so I could find that passage, besides it was English books, was across that street. How many of you have ever crossed a street? How many of you crossed a street in India? How about downtown Salem at Chemeketa and Commercial? Trying to make a cross when they're making those right-hand turns is almost impossible. But I'm an American woman, and I was going to cross this street. I don't want to put this too far away. Wednesday afternoon, we're at the President Hotel, enjoying hot chai and a nice lunch. And I decide I'm going by myself for the first time in like 10 days that I've been in India. I'm going to the English bookstore by myself. And I go to cross the street, and the cars are going the wrong way. And there's cows and dogs and the universal ooze that comes out of cows and dogs. And I don't see any way to get into that traffic flow. Did you ever double Dutch jump rope as a kid? You have to see your entry. Well, I could not see an entry to that. So I hailed an auto rickshaw. Take me to the clock tower. So we go down to the clock tower, about 1.5 miles away from where it is. And I go, oh, I changed my mind. Take me to the English bookstore. I was too embarrassed to tell him I was afraid to. So he drops me at the English bookstore. I buy my book of Kim and they had classroom supplies. And as a teacher, those of you who teach might know classroom supplies are the most fun. And then I need to go back to the hotel. I hailed a rickshaw. Both trips cost me $0.25, and some pride. The next week, we come back to the President Hotel Wednesday afternoon. I'm an American woman. I can do this. I can cross this street. I noticed when I was in the rickshaw that there was a crossing guard on a platform at where that other street connected. So I thought, I'll go down there and cross with the crossing guard. He's standing there, he's in a white uniform, gold braid, cap, fancy, like similar to the hotel, the guy at the hotel. And he's stopping traffic, and he's got this dance going, and to come. And he motions for me to come. And I step down, and I have an instant cultural experience, awareness that we're different, and I'm in a different country. Because in America, it's about 6 feet. Like Merle would be a comfortable distance for me to be from a car that's moving. In India, it's about 6 inches. And there was no way I was crossing that street. Rickshaw! Same routine. Next Wednesday, I had noticed that there was, at the other intersection, a roundabout, a great big globe. You know, like, not as big as the one downtown with the world painted on it, but large, and it formed a V. And I thought, if I could get across one lane and then see, and then get across another lane. I had my plan, but for some reason I thought I should stop at the bakery and get some treats for Fred and myself. I was into treats then. And I'm crossing the street with my packages, and I get to the middle island, and there's a Brahma bull stands up. I gave him one of the lemon tarts. And I got across the street, and I went to the English bookstore. Now, the clerk has gotten to know me, because this is the 3rd time I've been there, and I speak English, and he knows I'm teaching at the college. And he said, you need to get a black umbrella and use that umbrella to sort of guide, they'll respond. The animals will respond like a prod stick to, and he just happened to have black umbrellas. Now, I really would have liked a white umbrella or a colorful umbrella, but all he had was the standard English black umbrellas. Doesn't he know, don't the people in India know that when you're at 105 degrees Fahrenheit, a black umbrella is going to hold all the heat in? You should have white umbrellas. And then I think I'm a little arrogant to think I'm going to change the whole history and culture of the whole of India. But I bought the black umbrella, and it did work when I crossed back to the hotel. So now I'm an American woman with freedom to walk around in India. I know I'm going to show you some pictures. Oh, it's about that turning left, turning right, trying to cross the street with all the right-hand people. I'm seriously considering ordering a Brahma bull. Here's an auto rickshaw. Here's the clock tower. Now this is in Delhi, but this is the kind of thing. Can you see this guy? And he's doing the same. And this is my view of India. It's all the black umbrellas. Wow. There is Indian pudding on the table. This is about a 20-minute, half-hour break, something like that. There's coconut rice pudding made with coconut milk for my vegan friends, although I'm told it tastes just as good as the stuff made with milk. The ingredients are on charts. There's coffee and water and tea, probably all the wonderful things. So have fun.
Much more to come.
What?
I said, and much more to come.
And some more stories after the intermission.
Well done.
Any questions before I start about the?
The rice is
Yes,
great.
but
Yes.
the rice
What
was
was
great.
What was your husband doing there?
Teaching English. He taught the beginning English class and I taught advanced English. When he was there a semester before me, and I would get these calls at 2 in the morning. What's a gerund? What's a conjunction? Yeah. So he was working with the guys who had never even heard English spoken, that they were just from Tibet. And I had the class, and the Kempo Bigmar asked, please come to India and help your husband teach English. I would never have said that to Fred, but he said, please come help me. So that's what I was doing in India. And I was there a year, and you'll find out more any moment. I'm a quilter. And I had a debate in my mind whether I bring my sewing machine with me, my Bernina with me, an expensive machine, to India, and I just could not do it, and I regretted it. And the first few months I was there, I was hand sewing patches, and I wanted a sewing machine. And we were in Delhi for other reasons, and Fred lovingly scoped out a Singer sewing machine store for me. And we go, and it was on this Connaught Circle, this 1933 Art Deco, wonderful, clean, beautiful place. And they had exactly the machine I wanted. I got to test out all the stitches and did it have everything I needed, and I played with the machine about an hour. And yes, this will be wonderful. And Fred says, all right, we'll take it. Oh, it's not for sale. Why did you let me spend an hour playing with it? Well, you were having fun. Why do you have it here if it's not for sale? Oh, it's our teaching machine and our demo. Is there a machine here similar, with some similar features that I could buy? Well, they found one, and it wasn't as nice, but it would do, it would be okay. And I said, I'll take this, and a half dozen bobbins, and 3 or 4 packs of needles. No, we cannot sell you that, we will not sell you that. Now I've been there, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they won't sell me a machine. Fred goes back the next day. Oh, I forgot, I went to sleep. And I woke up, and it was the next day, and I was still in India without a sewing machine. Fred goes back to the shop, we go back, and he tries, and she might be buying dozens of machines. Please sell her a machine. We will decide who gets to buy our machines. They would not sell me a sewing machine.
Wow.
When I got back to Dehradun, my architect friend who built those wonderful cone buildings, and I just happened to have, this has nothing to do with what the story I'm telling, but I did bring some cones to show you how these buildings were put together. So Sandeep Chakravarti was the architect. He knew of a sewing machine place in Dehradun, a Singer place, and he went with me, and I got exactly the machine I wanted, and I brought it home. And sometimes we had electricity, and sometimes we didn't. So Fred commandeered a treadle for me, and I could do it either way.
Wow.
I loved it. It was great fun. I was able to sew up the seams that I had sewn by hand. I'm not the best hand seamstress. But I needed needles. And our bookkeeper sent every month a packet, DSL messenger, with all our paperwork, our bills, and what he's paid and what he's done. So I said, throw in some needles. So he went to a store and bought 10 packets of size 12 needles for the sewing machine. And we go down to the customs office, the post office, where they had the duty, if you had duty, and they wanted $100 duty for that package that had paperwork and 10 packets. So there's like 100 needles or so in this. And Fred said, we're not spending $100 on needles. And the guy said, fine, and he rips open the package. He throws our paperwork in a wastebasket next to Fred. So Fred was able to pick up the papers we needed, and he kept the needles. So I asked my friends, one friend in Alaska, to tell people to send women, my women friends, to send me cards and just put one needle in the spine of the card. And in town, in Dehradun, even the Singer store, I wanted to buy size 12 needles. All they had in India were size 14 and above needles. I did get enough to sew, but that, you know, come on. Well, I ran out of brown thread. I was sewing a dress for myself, and I ran out of brown thread, and I went and bought some Indian brown thread. It would only fit through a size 14. It also turned out that my asking for 10 sets of needles was a very arrogant American. Because the village that was above the house, just on the hill above us, that village shared 2 hand needles. They passed them around. So where a whole village would have, you know, 1 needle or 2 needles in their lifetime, and I go into a store and ask for 100 for myself. So that was very enlightening for me, humbling. I didn't think I was an arrogant American. I just thought I was humble, maybe. So that's my needles and thread and sewing machine. These are the 2 quilts that I made while I was there.
goodness.
I used to teach, well, before I went to India, I taught fabric dyeing. I taught surface design at the community college. And I'm going to be in India. I was there about 6 months still. I woke up in the morning, I'm still in India. And I wanted to get the kind of dyes I use, which is for professional for fabric. Procyon MX dyes are cold water dyes. They're easy to use. They need some mordant, some chemicals to make them stick. So on yet another trip to Delhi, we took a train that time. That was fun. I looked up in the yellow pages and I found a company that they said they sold the Procyon MX dyes. About 2:45, I said, Fred, let's go. I called them. They were open to, I think I must have said, are you open till 5? And they said yes. And we get in a cab, and I give him the address. We give the cab driver the address. And he said, no, there's many other beautiful places to go. And Fred said, no, we want to go to this address. Cars are not allowed there. Fred said, we want to go to this address. I think I'll show you the picture.
Oh my goodness.
This is the Red Fort. This is inside the Red Fort. This is downtown Delhi, Old Delhi. And this is the farthest the cars were allowed to go.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is where I was going.
Wow.
There happened to be some cars there. So we go to where the taxi could park, and the taxi driver says, now you get a bicycle rickshaw. I was terrified to get into this. I was a little larger, and I didn't think the guy could carry me, or we would fall over or something. I would die in this auto rickshaw. No, bicycle rickshaw. And Fred convinced the taxi driver to come with us. So Fred, the taxi driver, myself, and the poor man pedaling this take us down these streets. At some point, we got to where there was no rickshaws allowed, and we had to be on foot. At one point, we were on the wrong street. That was fun. All this Hindi conversation with the locals, and we had to backtrack through very narrow alleys. We finally get single file down the alley, And if our taxi driver hadn't had on a yellow turban, I would have been lost in the depths of Old Delhi. But I could see that yellow turban and I just could find him. We finally found the address. I was up a stairway and there were people sitting on like every third step drinking tea. Now there's no way, not even with Fred, that I would have gone up that stairway, but I had invested so much time in getting there. How could I not go up the stairway? So we go up. It's a very plain office, but just a business office, and they were so delighted to have us and offered tea, but I didn't drink the tea that time. I had managed to escape drinking tea. I did not manage to escape dysentery in India, but I wasn't drinking their tea. They wanted to know what colors. We have this whole filling out the form and all this, and then they say, and how many tons do you think? Tons? I really only wanted a couple ounces of these colors. They get on the phone, they hand me the phone. They have called the president of the company. And he makes an appointment with us for his office at the Connaught Circle the next morning. But I still want to get the chemicals. I need carrageenan and urea and soda ash, different things for mordants for the colors. So I asked the guys if they had the chemicals, not tons, and he said no. But there's a place, there's a stand, and he starts describing where this is. And the taxi driver says, I cannot follow that. So they send an office boy with us. Well, the office boy has on a lime green shirt. Thank We go down the stairs, down the alley, into a building, through the back way, out to another alley, and on, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I started out with white gym shoes, by the way, or tennis shoes, and they were at this point black. And we get to a stall outside in an alley, like, just incredible to me. They had one of the chemicals I needed, and it cost me $0.25 for a kilo. But they knew where the other three were available, about 10 minutes away or less. So the office boy, the rickshaw driver, the taxi driver, are single file to the other stall where they have kilos of everything I need, and I spend another 75 cents. Get back, the office boy takes us back to where we can get a bicycle rickshaw. I have never been so happy to see a mode of transportation in my whole entire life. It was such a joy to get on that and just relax and not worry about where I'm stepping and who I'm stepping on. And we go back to the hotel, like we got back around 7, so we left around 3. We have dinner and I go to bed and I sleep. And I wake up in the morning and I'm still in India. But we have an appointment at the Connaught Circle. This is, I'm trying to do the laser without advancing it. Here's where our hotel was, and the taxi driver takes us and stops at the stop. And it's this beautiful white marble building, and that whole circle is lined with these buildings. Just beautiful. Compared to where I was the day before. The green is all gardens. Just gorgeous. We go into the president's office. He serves us Pepsi in a sealed bottle with dry glasses, and we were able to have a Pepsi with the president of this company. He grilled me about my knowledge about the dyes and the chemicals and what I was doing. And when I answered the questions correctly, because I'd been teaching it, he gave me a sample, a 1-ounce sample of every color they made. 8 different books. How to mix other colors, what it looks like on different cloth. So what would the dye look like on silk? so gracious and so wonderful and so different than the Singer sewing machine. Let's see, where are we going to? We just had some fun traveling around. This is Kempo and Fred at the President Hotel. We had dinner parties almost every week. We had quite a social life. We went on vacation up to Missouri, which is the hill station above us. And it's from the time of the Raj, where the English people needed a break from the heat, and you could go up to the top of the hill and it would be cool. We stayed at the Hotel Connaught Castle, which had been a former. And there were monkeys. There were no monkeys in downtown Dehradun. They were on the road around it. I didn't routinely carry my black umbrella, but I had it. I was always looking for a white umbrella. I'm walking down this street. There's stores. And it starts to rain, I think. But I have been baptized by the monkeys. I now totally understand the black umbrella. I took a taxi back to the hotel, changed my clothes, and carried my black umbrella. It didn't matter how hot it was, I had that umbrella. See, American. Tiger, I said monkeys and tigers and cobras, oh my. Well, we came back from Missouri and I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning. And I was still in India. And the people in the village above us were drumming. You know, they had celebrations. I didn't know any of them. I had no conversation with any of them. And sometimes they were delightful to watch. There was an old lady, and this has nothing to do with this story, but she used to clean her toenails with like a knife like this. How do you do that without cutting yourself? But this particular day, all day, they were drumming and pounding. All night, they were drumming and pounding. And I went down and talked to Kempo, and I said, what is this? What's going on? A tiger has been spotted coming down the mountain. And tigers will devour children, and they will not come where the drumming is. That's to keep away the tigers. So I go back up to my house, and as I'm coming up to my house, I see this white being coming down. I can see it. And I go in the house and I look out the dining room window, and that tiger comes down along the side of my house. And I go to the kitchen and I get out a pot and a spoon. Beautiful, beautiful white tiger. There's a sad part of that story. Is the tiger was heading into civilization. And the chances of that tiger's survival was very dim. But I have no idea, because the next journey happened. One day, I think. There's my tiger. I didn't take that picture. I do PowerPoint here at church, and we have a collection of pictures that we can choose from. We can add our own, but we also have a collection. And that was in the collection. Like the last time I did it, 2 Sundays ago, I see this white tiger. I go, all right, I don't have to go hunting on the internet. Escape from Dehradun. I want to read a little bit from the letter that I wrote in September. Fred has been very sick. The doctor says malaria. His symptoms match the book description. I want to bring him home. He is so skinny, he looks like a prisoner of war. Also, the political situation has blown up here. The police killed 5 people in Missouri. They were trying to steal guns from the police station in retaliation, and they killed the police chief. Then, I'm going to go back to this. Now there are heavy curfews. The towns of Duridoon and Missouri are shut down. We could not get Fred back to the doctor in town, and it took all day to even get a phone call through to the doctor. Now Fred is ready to leave here, but he is too weak to travel. He wants to go to Thailand to travel and sightsee. I hope I have a map. When I lived there, this whole area was Uttar Pradesh. This is flatlands. Lucknow was the capital. This was lowlands. And the people in this upper area wanted to be a separate province so that they had the jobs. And it turns out they were successful. And Dehradun is now the capital of the new province. But it got pretty bloody. We were in town. The college Kempo thought we would be safe, but we were in town right by the English bookstore, and someone threw a bomb,
Grenade.
well, no, it was a bottle with some
Molotov
a Molotov cocktail. Because Fred had been in Vietnam and been in contact, he heard the sound of the bottle in the air and got us physically out of harm's way. But we knew we had to leave. We stayed at the President Hotel where they had grate over the door and windows. And after dinner, they asked if I wanted to go for a walk. Well, we have an armed guard can go with you. I really decided I'd rather stay home. I watched 2 days of fighting in the streets through a crack in the curtain. I was terrified they'd see me, but I just, they were burning tires and burning buses. I didn't see anyone get killed. But we wanted to go back to the college, and there was a gate, the Gatal gate, I didn't point out on the map, but they wouldn't let us through to go back to the guards there. And Campo Migmar came down and brought pastries to the guards and convinced the guards that they should let us go through. There was a 24-hour curfew on this whole area. And Campo felt strongly that he needed to get us out. And he found a taxi driver who was willing to drive us to Delhi. Under curfew, we could only take with us what we could fit inside the cab, nothing on top. And I left almost everything I brought from America, and I took with just some clothes and the things we had gathered. Kempo gave me a considerable amount of money and taught me how to bribe a guard. And we went through 14 military checkpoints. And the 5-hour drive was a 14-hour drive to get to Delhi. Fred was very sick, didn't know, we really thought he had malaria. And I want to tell a little aside about Fred. I've talked about Fred being a little belligerent and getting upset. But Fred, we had mice in the house. And
Can you speak up just a
yes,
little?
we had mice in the house, and Fred would mark their toenails with nail polish to see when he took them out if they were coming back in because of the snake bites. And he would seize Kempo that he took him down to the college, but he never did. And then we discovered a mouse had, these were pretty big. They were soft-faced like a mouse, but they were the size of rats. They were much bigger, but they were cute. We came back from a trip to Nepal where we had gone to get our visa renewed, and they had chewed all the plastic tops off of all our containers. But there was one that had a nest of babies that Fred found, and he wanted to catch them. And he sat with a string trap where when the mama came in there with the babies, he could pull the string, and he sat for 6 hours unmoving till he caught those mice. And he took them down to one of our outbuildings, and he fed them and brought them water every day till they grew up. So I needed to share this other side of Fred, this incredibly gentle man. He just happened to be a Vietnam vet. Anyhow, where was I? I was on the road bribing the guards. And we get to the airport, and we have tickets to Thailand, and it is the last plane that Thailand allowed to fly because of a plague in India. So I woke up the next morning, and I wasn't in. Let's see what I have here. I'm getting done way early, folks. Oh, cobras. Oh, my. Okay, I woke up in the morning. I was in Thai Island in southern Thailand. And I got up one morning, and by the front door was a little tiny snake all coiled up. And Fred came in and picked it up, opened the door, flung it out into the air. And he told our landlord. And the landlord said, you know, that was a baby cobra, and that could have killed you. Well, why is there a baby cobra in our living room? He looks around, our landlord looks around the house, and there's a hole where he said, oh, the snakes are down in here, and he plugs the hole. Now, to my way of thinking, if they could dig the hole, what good does putting dirt in it do? I come home from the store one day. I have a little puppy, and I did this is the dumbest, absolute dumbest thing I've ever done in my whole life. I opened the door, and there was a coiled cobra, a teenage size, and my puppy. And I reached over the cobra, picked up my puppy, and ran out the door. Slammed the door behind me, ran down in my best Thai saying, snake, no, no. And the landlord came up, and I had killed the cobra with the door. He was chasing me. And when I turned around and slammed the door. That moment changed my life. India actually changed my life, because if I could cross the street in downtown India, I could do almost anything. But now, if I can kill a cobra, what is there that you could throw at me that I can't handle? I could ride my way through 14 military checkpoints without getting arrested or killed. I truly was sure every day in India that I was dead that day. I really. But here I am. This is me in Thailand with my elephant. But that's not for this evening. That would be a story for another evening. Leave us with a teaser. That I finished way early. So does anyone have any questions or want me to elaborate on anything? Yes.
did you like, I mean, there were times.
I
there were
loved
times
it.
with-
I loved
Okay.
it. In fact, if it hadn't been for the political problems, we had decided where we were gonna build a house. I loved being with the monks. I loved the camaraderie, I wasn't ever really Buddhist, but I did a lot of the trainings in Buddhism. And actually, one of the trainings was the first place ever the concept that I was a part, really God, that I had that power. And we say that every Sunday, but that, I had never heard that before. And the guys were very appreciative of just anything. So I have a little time, maybe yes, Dave.
A lot of those beautiful buildings, and how many of them were built by the English?
A lot of the beautiful buildings would have been built by the English
Yeah.
during the
Occupation.
33, that Connaught Circle went up in 33.
Mhm.
Yes, someone,
What did you do in Thailand for 2 years?
you'll have to come back again sometime.
Did your husband get well?
Yeah, was he sick?
He was, we took him almost immediately to a hospital in Thailand, and he did not have malaria. He was having lung problems, and they thought maybe heart problems. That was quite the experience because the doctor was the only one in the hospital that spoke English.
Oh my God.
So here I am alone in a foreign country with my husband dying. They said they didn't know if he would make it through the night. I really don't want to talk too much about Thailand because I might want to come back next year.
Oh, yeah.
Dave,
Yeah, when you taught English, you said there was one person that spoke a lot of English to you couldn't understand. Were you able to get a dialect? that they
yeah,
speak
it took me
English?
about a month
Yeah,
to really understand what. The shopkeepers, their English was much better.
but I mean, when you were teaching English.
They
did you-
didn't speak Hindi. They spoke Tibetan.
When you taught them to speak English, you could teach them a good American dialect?
Well, I hope so.
You could understand what they would say back to you then, huh?
Yes. Oh, some of they were typical kids. I mean, they were about 19, the youngest was 19 and up to about 26, 27. They had already been through 8 years of school. This was an advanced college of philosophy. And some of the words they wanted to know what they meant, I'd never heard of in my whole life. So. I had a dictionary.
I was going to say, did you have a dictionary?
We were reading a story where the king cut his hand on a doorknob. And they did not know what a doorknob was. What's a doorknob? How can someone cut their hand on a doorknob? So I looked around, it's all latches, it's all sideways latches. And I went into Dehradun looking for a doorknob. I could not find a doorknob anywhere. And by the time I got tired of looking, we had moved on to another lesson. But they also didn't like tests and would do anything to get me off the subject and not have to do a test. And one of their arguments that trees were not alive. They didn't feel that trees were sentient beings. And I know there are people in the room who would greatly disagree with that. They also didn't believe in the aurora borealis, even though I had pictures of it. One day I gave them an assignment to interview each other. And I was told they don't speak English to each other. You do in my classroom. So they interviewed each other. And it was interesting what their dreams were for their futures. And most of them wanted to be teaching Buddhism around the world and be seeing the world and around the world. And I actually have had one of them come to the US and get a chance to see him. And Kempo Vigmar came to Thailand, we had a blast. And he was gonna come to the States, but he got stomach cancer and went very quickly. So not all the stories are fun, but I learned how to make momos, which is a little dumpling. And the monks taught me, they laughed at my inability to form a crust as neatly as they could. I had English friends, two women from England that I befriended. And there was just social, there was dinner parties and social, and it was really, a lot of it was joy. And then sometimes it was dysentery. The President Hotel had a large stairway. You came down, there was no elevator. And you came down and you were in the lobby, and the manager would stand at the lobby. Good morning, Mrs. Riley. How was your motion? Yes.
Not even a movement.
That was a motion. Have dysentery overnight. Not just me. That's how they treated the guests everywhere. Fred was hospitalized more than once, and then I got very sick, and they didn't want me in a hospital there, so the hotel found a doctor who came and took care of me, and I was on an IV drip in the hospital room. And the hospital was interesting. They don't provide food. Your family has to bring your food, and it was not, in my feeling, it was not clean. And the monks stayed with Fred. Fred was never alone in the hospital. They just 24/7.
Oh my God.
And I think I was there about 2 weeks when the first time he was in the hospital. He never really got well. He would rally, he would gain a little weight. And he just passed 2 years ago. He was in Mexico. It was his choice to be in Mexico. And I think he weighed less than 50 pounds. No one could ever quite figure out what was wrong with him. He had strokes. At the end, towards the end, he had 3 stents put in his heart, but I don't think it was heart all along. He was a Vietnam vet. So, I'm ending on a very sad point. What good funny story could I tell?
What drew your husband to go to India in the first place?
He was studying Buddhism. We lived in Juneau, Alaska. I met Fred in Juneau, Alaska. And any visitor, any speaker who came to Juneau, you went, because there was not a whole lot going on in Juneau, Alaska. And Lama Tashi Namgyal, who had a Buddhist school in Victoria, came to Juneau and had an evening of How to Achieve World Peace was the title. And we went, of course, because we went to anybody who came to visit. And Lama Tashi said, the gist of it was the only way to ever achieve world peace is to achieve inner peace. And he said, I'm having a seminar tomorrow on how to find inner peace. I did not go. Fred went. Fred came home from that. We weren't married. We weren't even living together. But he lived in Haines and I lived in Juneau, so he stayed with me relatively frequently. He came home from that seminar and said, I want to be a monk. Which I had real mixed emotions about, because I had been a Catholic nun, so I understood the call to that kind of service. So I said, do what you need to do. So he left in about 2 weeks and went and moved to Victoria and studied Buddhism with Lama Tashi Namgyal. That was in October. And at Christmas, he called and he said, I found out that I could be a Buddhist. I didn't have to be a monk. And would you marry me? And I said no. And he came back from Victoria, back up to Juneau in the spring, in March or April. And he just convinced me that I should marry him, and we got married that summer. And we moved immediately to Victoria, where he studied for 2 years with Lama Tashi Namgyal. And at the end of 2 years, Lama Tashi said, if you want to go further in your Buddhist studies, you really need to go to India to the school, and they would love to have English teachers. You could exchange tuition for teaching English. So he went and studied Buddhism, and I quilted. I learned a lot about Buddhism, but I just could not embrace the idea of no Christ, as I knew Christ to be at that time. But Buddhism is a path of deep compassion, so I have great respect for the people who study Buddhism. Anything, I think we might be done.